When you picture Dracula, the image is almost universal. Slicked back hair, a high-collared cape, a thick Eastern European accent, and a creature that burns to ash in the sunlight. We tend to assume this exact figure was birthed perfectly formed in Bram Stoker's 1897 novel. Or, failing that, we assume it was drawn directly from the brutal history of a 15th-century Romanian prince. But if you actually read the original text or study the history of the man who inspired it, this famous version of the monster is nowhere to be found. It turns out the version of Dracula we hold in our heads isn't a single creation at all. It's a patchwork character, assembled piece by piece over centuries of specific cultural choices. Stoker did start with a kernel of truth. He borrowed the name from Vlad III, a 15th-century Wallachian prince struggling to hold a fragile border state against an encroaching empire. Vlad utilized psychological warfare as a primary tool of defense. During one campaign, he displayed thousands of impaled bodies across the landscape, a forest of the impaled, to break the morale of the advancing Ottoman forces. Today, this history is often channeled into Bran Castle, a picturesque site in Romania that has become the primary destination for tourists looking for the Dracula experience. But the actual prince's strategic base was Poenari Castle, a jagged, nearly inaccessible fortress perched on a mountain ridge, designed as a hard-to-assail lookout point. Stoker merged these reports of Eastern European geopolitics with the Irish folklore of his own youth. He wove in the changeling myths and the malevolent fairy folk of Celtic tradition, beings that belonged to a hidden universe of the dead. This means the foundation of the character isn't a biography, it's a mashup of border state survival tactics and ancient supernatural myths. In Stoker's book, the Count doesn't look like a gentleman. He is described as physically repulsive, with hairy palms, a rank odor, and sharp predatory features. In the late 1890s, this wasn't just a monster design, it was a biological threat. Stoker's Dracula was an Eastern European invader, buying up property in the heart of London, intending to prey on the population and convert them into others like himself. So how did this repulsive foreign invader transform into a suave figure in evening wear and a high-collared cape? The shift started in the 1920s, not in a book, but on the theatrical stage, in the adaptations of playwright Hamilton Dean. The iconic high collar was actually a mechanical trick. It was stiffly wired to hide the actor's head, allowing him to slip through a trapdoor and vanish from the stage in an instant while the audience was still looking at the cape. Dracula's most defining fashion choice was born out of the practical limitations of a stage performance. Even the voice has changed. In the novel, Dracula speaks perfect English. He wants to blend in completely so he can infiltrate society without being noticed. The thick, halting Eastern European accent we associate with the character today didn't arrive until the 1931 early sound film starring Bela Lugosi. Lugosi weaponized the brand new medium of audio cinema. His performance used sound to emphasize the vampire's foreignness, creating an audible distance between the monster and the audience. This era of film also rewrote his death. In the book, he is stabbed with knives, but early films, which relied on the play of light and shadow, introduced the idea that a beam of sunlight would turn him to ash. Today, that destruction has evolved again. Modern cinema uses CGI to turn the vampire into a glowing, pixelated cloud of dust, a visual language made possible by digital technology. The creature's weaknesses didn't change because of folklore. They changed because our tools of visual storytelling changed. The figure we recognize is a collection of leftovers: Irish folk tales, 15th century terror tactics, 1920s stage magic, and the invention of sound film. He remains an immortal icon because he isn't rigidly fixed to one book or one history. He is infinitely adaptable to whatever new technology we use to tell his story. Dracula continues to haunt us because he is a mirror. He feeds on our culture, evolving to look exactly like whatever we happen to be afraid of or fascinated by next.